The oldest doctor in Japan reveals the only drink you need to kick bad cholesterol out of your life. Get rid of that problem right now. This doctor, with an almost surreal age, challenged traditional advice, ignored fads, has lived for decades full of energy, clarity, and with an unbeatable heart. But it wasn't luck, nor genetics. In this episode, you'll find out about the silent mistakes clogging your arteries, even when you think you're eating right. You'll understand why healthy diets don't always protect the heart, and what no one told you about the real villain behind high cholesterol. Dr. Haruki Tanaka will reveal the simple habit that transformed thousands of people's health, and that can transform yours too. Get ready for a conversation that might redefine everything you thought you knew about food, longevity, and vitality. So welcome to another episode of Heal Essence, where you'll discover the only drink you need to eliminate bad cholesterol forever. Dr. Haruki, what amazes me the most is seeing so many people watching what they eat, avoiding fried foods, eating salad, and yet their cholesterol is sky high. There's something we're not understanding right about this whole thing, huh?
You're absolutely right. Many patients come to the office puzzled because they follow what's considered a healthy diet and still have high cholesterol. What happens is that the definition of eating well is often outdated. Avoiding saturated fat became an obsession in the 90s, but bad cholesterol can be triggered by other invisible factors.
So you're saying that person who switches red meat for chicken breast, drinks boxed juice, eats granola, might be doing all that thinking they're protecting themselves, but actually feeding the problem?
Exactly. The biggest mistake is believing that only animal fat raises cholesterol. Today we know that excessive consumption of sugars, refined flours, and refined vegetable oils plays a devastating role in artery health. And worse, these foods are common in diets labeled light or fit.
That reminds me of that patient story you told, the lady who brought a lunchbox with brown rice and grilled chicken every day, but still had sky-high cholesterol. Mind sharing again?
Of course. She was a 62-year-old woman, very disciplined, avoided sweets, didn't smoke, walked every day. But her LDL cholesterol was at 190. What did we find? For breakfast, she drank pure grape juice and ate toast with margarine. These two seemingly harmless items were inflaming her liver daily.
So silent inflammation is the big villain here. The person thinks they're making good choices, but they're actually clogging their own cardiovascular system.
That's right. And because cholesterol doesn't hurt, it builds up quietly until one day it causes a heart attack or a stroke. The problem isn't just what we eat, but how the body interprets and responds to it.
So we can say that eating well isn't enough. We need to understand what causes inflammation and messes with cholesterol metabolism.
And that's going to be our focus throughout this episode. We'll uncover what's really behind high cholesterol, even in those who think they're doing everything right.
Dr. Haruki, for many years we heard that to control cholesterol, you just had to reduce fat, especially saturated fat. Many people still live with that fear. But from what you've started to say, that view is outdated, huh?
Completely. That was one of the biggest confusions in modern medicine. For decades, we associated high cholesterol directly with fat consumption. But today it's clear that the big villain behind the bad cholesterol epidemic is chronic inflammation, mainly caused by ultra-processed foods, sugars, and refined oils.
It's impressive how the focus got diverted. People started fearing butter, eggs, meat, and switched to zero-fat, light products full of sugar and additives. So they swapped one supposed problem for something even worse.
Exactly. When you remove fat, the food loses flavor. So the industry compensates with sugar, corn syrup, and other ingredients that, in the end, stimulate the liver to produce even more LDL cholesterol. And more. These foods inflame the arteries, favoring plaque buildup.
There's an example that comes to mind: strawberry light yogurt. The package says it's healthy, fat-free, but if you read the label, there's over 20 g of sugar per serving. It's like eating disguised dessert.
Exactly. Sugar is one of the main culprits for increasing oxidized LDL, the most dangerous form of bad cholesterol. Besides, it deregulates metabolism, causes insulin resistance, and stimulates visceral fat, which is highly inflammatory.
So the real question we should be asking isn't how much fat is in this, but is this going to inflame my body?
Perfect. That's the most modern and effective reasoning. It's not fat itself clogging arteries, but the inflamed environment that makes cholesterol deposit there. Our focus needs to be on reducing inflammation, not demonizing good fat.
And that's where a lot of people get it wrong. They reduce fat, but keep eating white bread, drinking soda, living stressed, and cholesterol doesn't go down.
And in some cases, it even gets worse. That's why focusing only on fat is a dangerous mistake. We need to look at the diet as a whole, and especially at the foods that interfere with liver function and the body's inflammatory state.
Dr. Haruki, you already mentioned something that caught my attention. Cholesterol has no symptoms. And that seems like a dangerous trap because many people only find out when they're already close to the hospital, right?
Exactly. Bad cholesterol, especially oxidized LDL, doesn't cause pain, fever, or any direct discomfort. It accumulates day after day in the artery walls, and when the person feels something, usually it's because an artery is clogged.
So when we hear stories of someone having a sudden heart attack or stroke without warning, it's likely that high cholesterol had been there for years, acting silently.
Yes. I often say that a heart attack is the final scream of a process that started years earlier. And since cholesterol doesn't warn you, it becomes dangerous precisely because it's silent. That's why prevention is so important. You need to measure it, monitor it, and act early.
Now tell me something. Is there any indirect sign a person can notice? Any symptom that, even if not obvious, serves as an alert to investigate?
Great question. Some subtle signs can appear, like excessive fatigue, difficulty concentrating, lack of energy even after resting. But all that is non-specific, and most people blame stress or age. What I recommend is, get periodic exams, even if you feel fine.
Because sometimes inside the body's already fighting a war, and we don't even know.
Exactly. And it's worth remembering that it's not just the heart that suffers from cholesterol buildup. The brain is affected too. Many dementias are related to vascular problems. When cerebral arteries are compromised, memory and mental clarity start to fail.
That's very serious. And many times the person thinks they're just getting old, but actually it's the blood not reaching the brain properly anymore.
That's why I say, don't wait to feel pain to take care of cholesterol. Pain, in this case, might be the last chapter of a long and invisible, and often irreversible, story.
Dr. Tanaka, let's take a didactic pause here. Lots of people hear about good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, LDL, HDL, triglycerides, but few understand what it really means. Can you explain simply, like you were talking to a patient in your office?
Sure. Let's start with the basics. Cholesterol is a fat essential for the body. It participates in hormone production, vitamin D, and cell membranes. The problem isn't cholesterol itself, but what the body does with it. And that's where lipoproteins come in, LDL and HDL.
What's the difference between them?
LDL, called bad cholesterol, carries cholesterol from the liver to tissues. If it's in excess or oxidized, it can deposit in artery walls, forming plaques. HDL, the good cholesterol, does the opposite. It picks up excess cholesterol from tissues and takes it back to the liver for elimination.
So LDL isn't a villain by itself. It only becomes a problem when it's out of balance?
Exactly. LDL is like a truck carrying cargo. If it's overloaded, poorly driven, or the road is bad, meaning inflamed arteries, it can cause accidents. HDL is like a cleanup truck that collects leftover debris. So ideally, you keep LDL low and HDL high. This keeps arteries clear.
And where do triglycerides fit in this equation?
Good question. Triglycerides are another kind of fat in the blood, mainly derived from sugars and carbs we eat. When you eat a lot of bread, rice, sweets, or drink too much alcohol, the liver turns the excess into triglycerides. High triglyceride levels also contribute to plaque formation.
So controlling cholesterol isn't just about cutting fat, but also controlling sugar, flour, and alcohol?
Exactly. High cholesterol is more of a metabolic problem than just dietary. You might avoid fat, but if you're inflamed, sedentary, stressed, and eating lots of sugar, the body keeps producing bad cholesterol.
Are there tests that help better understand these numbers?
Yes. The blood test measuring LDL, HDL, and triglycerides is basic, but there's a more advanced test called apolipoprotein B, which shows the number of LDL particles. This number can be a more precise indicator of heart risk.
Dr. Tanaka, so far we understand that bad cholesterol doesn't act alone. It needs the right environment, right? And you talk a lot about silent inflammation. What role does it play in the artery clogging process?
A central role. Chronic inflammation is the true fuel for plaque formation. Imagine your arteries as smooth inner tubes. When inflamed, they start to develop microcracks, and the body, trying to fix these lesions, sends cholesterol to the area. Over time, plaques form. So cholesterol doesn't start the problem. Inflammation does.
So without inflammation, cholesterol would have less to stick to?
Exactly. It's like pouring cement on a cracked wall. The problem isn't the cement, it's the crack. And cracks in arteries are caused by things like poor diet, chronic stress, smoking, inactivity, and even bad sleep.
Are there foods that feed this inflammation, even without us realizing?
Yes, and they're part of many people's daily routine. Bread, cakes, sweets, processed meats, soda, refined vegetable oils, margarines, all promote systemic inflammation. The problem is these foods became common, and people think it's normal to eat them every day.
So inflammation comes not only from bad fat, but also from excess sugar and processed products?
Exactly. Sugar is one of the biggest hidden villains. It causes insulin spikes, and excess insulin is highly inflammatory. And we're not just talking white sugar, but also starchy foods like white rice, potatoes, and pasta. All turn into glucose quickly in the blood.
It's impressive how modern diets, even without frying or visible fat, can clog arteries every day.
Yes, and worse, many of these foods are labeled fitness, light, or zero, which gives a false sense of security. But they keep promoting the perfect environment for LDL oxidation and plaque formation.
And this inflammation affects the whole body, right? Not just the heart.
Correct. Chronic inflammation is the basis for many diseases: diabetes, obesity, Alzheimer's, cancer. But in arteries, it has a direct effect. It turns cholesterol into building material for plaques that can clog a vital artery any moment.
Dr. Tanaka, now I want to talk about something that seems harmless, but could be one of the biggest health saboteurs: breakfast. Lots of people start the day in a rush and eat the quickest possible. But could we be unknowingly starting the day by inflaming our bodies?
Unfortunately, that's exactly what happens. The typical breakfast most people eat invites bad cholesterol to accumulate. White bread, margarine, boxed juice, cookies, coffee with sugar. All raise blood sugar, inflame the body, and start a metabolic process that lasts all day. And this repeats daily.
It's like people wake up the LDL right in the morning, huh? Thinking they're eating something light.
Exactly. The problem is these foods have a very high glycemic index, which makes insulin rise fast. Insulin, as we said, favors inflammation. Over time, this deregulates liver function and increases bad cholesterol production. Besides, many of these breakfasts are low in protein and good fats, which would be protective elements.
Even those who choose whole wheat bread or a cereal bar can fall into the same trap.
Yes, because most of these products are ultra-processed. Industrial whole wheat bread often has white flour as base, sugar, and glucose syrup. Cereal bars tend to be a mix of sugar and vegetable oil. The packaging tricks you, but the body feels the impact.
So you recommend swapping this breakfast for something more nutritious? What would be a good example?
Definitely. A good breakfast should start with protein. Eggs, for example, are excellent. You can add some avocado, seeds like chia or flax, and drink unsweetened green tea. Even bone broth or a smoothie made with natural ingredients is better than bread with margarine and industrial juice.
It's funny, right? Because we were taught breakfast needed to be light and sweet. But light became shallow and sweet became inflammatory.
Perfect. Breakfast should nourish, not addict. When it has the right elements, it regulates satiety, protects the liver, and reduces insulin spikes. That directly impacts cholesterol production. A good start to the day is one of the most powerful ways to prevent heart attacks, and almost no one talks about it.
Dr. Tanaka, you've talked a lot about inflammatory foods, but there's a trio that seems to be the big modern villain: sugar, white flour, and refined vegetable oil. Why are these three ingredients so common, so dangerous for heart health?
Because they act like an explosive combination. Sugar and white flour quickly become glucose in the blood, which spikes insulin and causes inflammation. Refined vegetable oils, like soybean, corn, canola, and sunflower, are rich in oxidized omega-6, which also promotes inflammation in cells and artery walls. Together, these three create the perfect environment for cholesterol plaques.
And the worst is that they're in practically everything: bread, cakes, cookies, ready sauces, frozen foods. Seems impossible to avoid.
It's true. The biggest challenge is that they're invisible daily. People consume them without noticing. Breakfast bread, lunch pasta, afternoon cookies, fast food dinner. All these foods have this trio as a base. And over time, the body accumulates inflammation, fatty liver, and plaques, silently.
Do you believe this trio is more dangerous than animal fat, for example?
Without a doubt. Saturated fat in balance and from natural foods, like eggs, butter, good quality meat, is not the problem. The real risk lies in these industrial ingredients that overload metabolism. They not only raise bad cholesterol, but prevent the body from detoxing properly.
So the liver, which already has so much work, still has to deal with excess glucose, oxidized fat, and toxins. It can't keep up.
Exactly. The liver is the maestro of cholesterol, and when it's inflamed, fatty, or poisoned, it starts producing more LDL and less HDL. The result is a deep imbalance in the circulatory system, and the risk of heart attack or stroke rises drastically.
Is there a way to escape this, even living in the city and with a busy life?
Sure. The first step is learning to read labels and reduce processed foods. Cook more at home, use olive oil instead of vegetable oil, swap white bread for roots, include more vegetables and greens. Small conscious choices reduce inflammation and protect the heart.
In the end, it seems the solution isn't magic, but requires going back to simple, right?
Yes. The closer to nature the food is, the less impact it has on cholesterol. The body recognizes what's natural and responds with balance. The problem is many have unlearned how to really eat, and they're paying with their health.
Dr. Tanaka, until now you've made it clear that the liver plays a central role in cholesterol control. But what surprised me was this idea it can become a saboteur. How does that happen?
That's a great question. The liver is responsible for producing about 80% of the body's cholesterol. It also filters toxins, metabolizes fats, and regulates HDL and LDL levels. But when it's inflamed or overloaded, whether due to poor diet, alcohol, medications, or excess sugar, it starts working irregularly. And then, instead of protecting the body, it starts producing more bad cholesterol than necessary.
So it's not enough to watch what you eat. You also have to look after liver health?
Exactly. If the liver is fatty or inflamed, it will pump out more LDL even if the person is eating right. I've seen many patients with high cholesterol and a balanced diet. The problem was the liver. And the scariest part, fatty liver usually doesn't cause symptoms. It fills with fat until it starts to fail silently.
That's worrying. And is there something you usually see as the main cause of fatty liver?
Yes, excess industrial fructose, especially from sodas, boxed juices, and foods with corn syrup. Fructose, when consumed in excess, overloads the liver and turns into fat. That fat accumulates inside liver cells and triggers inflammation. Alcohol, of course, is also part of the package, but sugar is the big hidden villain.
So the problem isn't just what we eat, but also what the liver has to process every day, right?
Exactly. The modern diet demands too much from the liver. Ultra-processed foods, dyes, additives, fried foods, alcohol, excessive medications. All become metabolic trash the liver has to filter. When it can't keep up, this overload causes internal inflammation, and one direct effect is uncontrolled bad cholesterol production.
Is there a way to tell if the liver is in this condition without imaging tests?
Some indirect signs help: persistent tiredness, digestion difficulties, belly fat, mood swings, and even skin changes like dark spots. But the ideal is to do specific exams, like ultrasound and liver enzyme evaluation. And, of course, act preventively with clean, anti-inflammatory eating.
At the end of the day, taking care of the liver means taking care of the heart. One protects the other?
Perfectly. When the liver is healthy, it naturally regulates cholesterol levels and reduces plaque risk. That's why treating cholesterol isn't just about cutting fatty foods. It's about restoring the body's metabolic intelligence, starting with the liver.
Dr. Tanaka, there's one thing that confuses a lot of people: the so-called fitness foods. Products that promise health, energy, a fit body, but that, according to you, can be real traps. How does that happen?
It happens because many of these foods are industry creations with a healthy look but inflammatory composition. They're sold with claims like zero sugar, high protein, low carb, gluten-free. But when you look at the ingredients, you find syrups, artificial sweeteners, refined oils, preservatives, and modified flours. All that can stimulate LDL production in the liver.
It's the classic, looks like it but isn't, right? People buy thinking they're doing good, but are just swapping one poison for another.
Exactly. Protein bars, ready shakes, whole grain cookies, industrial granolas, gluten-free breads. All can contain highly inflammatory ingredients. And the liver, which doesn't recognize these substances as natural, goes on alert, producing more bad cholesterol as a defense mechanism.
And the funny thing is, many of these products look light, mild in flavor, green packaging. Seems all designed to convince the consumer, huh?
It's a clear strategy. The industry learned to sell the feeling of health. But real health is in what food causes inside your body, not what's written on the label. I've had many patients who did everything right, ate only fitness products, and had skyrocketing LDL. When they went back to real food, cholesterol dropped naturally.
Is there any of these fitness foods you consider especially tricky?
Industrial granolas are a good example. They look healthy but are full of sugar, corn syrup, bad oils, and flours. Another example is ready detox juices, full of preservatives and dyes, or industrial plant milks, which have more additives than nutrients.
So the tip is, always be suspicious when a food has too many ingredients?
Absolutely. The more unknown ingredients, the farther the food is from being good for your body. The rule is simple: peel more, unwrap less. Fruits, veggies, roots, seeds, natural proteins, those actually reduce inflammation and regulate cholesterol metabolism.
What about natural sweeteners found in these products? Erythritol, xylitol, stevia. Do they interfere?
Some less, others more. The problem is excess and daily use. Sweeteners can interfere with gut flora, cause sweet cravings, and indirectly affect liver metabolism. The best strategy is to retrain your taste buds, not replace sugar with better versions.
Dr. Tanaka, so far we talk a lot about the heart risks of high cholesterol. But what few people imagine is that it can also affect the brain, memory, and energy. Does that really happen?
Yes, and much more often than people think. The brain is about 60% fat, and cholesterol plays a vital role in forming neural connections. However, when LDL is high and oxidized, it also contributes to plaque formation in brain vessels. This makes circulation harder and reduces oxygen and nutrient supply to the brain.
So we think of bad cholesterol as only a heart problem, but it can directly hurt brain function?
Exactly. That's why people with high cholesterol often complain about lack of focus, weak memory, slow thinking, poor sleep, and persistent fatigue. Often the cause isn't a hectic lifestyle, but partially blocked brain arteries. The mind needs good circulation just like the heart.
And it can affect mood too, right? I've heard of a link between cholesterol and depression.
Definitely. The brain also depends on cholesterol to produce neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and acetylcholine. If there's an imbalance, either too much oxidized LDL or lack of good cholesterol, HDL, production of these messengers can be impaired. The result: mood changes, anxiety, irritability, even depression.
Amazing how everything's connected. And that low energy, the famous no pep, is that part of the package too?
Yes. When arteries are clogged, the whole body starts suffering from lack of oxygen and nutrients. This impacts the brain, muscles, and metabolism overall. The person wakes up tired, drags through the day, feels unproductive, and often the culprit is high, silent, ignored cholesterol.
And the worst is these symptoms are easily blamed on other causes, right? Stress, age, no coffee?
Exactly. People often treat symptoms with stimulants, supplements, or ignore them, but without treating the cause, which can be a deep metabolic imbalance, it all comes back. That's why whenever someone reports chronic tiredness and memory issues, I order cholesterol, inflammation, and liver function tests.
In the end, taking care of cholesterol isn't just about living longer. It's about living better with clarity, energy, and joy.
Perfect. Taking care of your arteries means taking care of your mental and emotional quality of life. The brain needs nourishment and steady flow, and that depends on the health of your vessels, your diet, and very simple, but powerful, daily choices.
Dr. Tanaka, most people believe that measuring total cholesterol in a blood test is enough to know if their heart is okay. But you talk about a little-known test that shows the real risk of a heart attack. What test is that?
That test is called the coronary calcium score. It's done by CT scan and measures the amount of calcium accumulated in the heart arteries. It's the only test capable of objectively showing if your arteries are calcified, meaning if plaques have already formed there. And this changes everything, because often blood tests come back normal, but the heart is at risk.
So you're saying that a person can have cholesterol controlled in their blood, but still have plaques in their arteries?
Exactly. Cholesterol is just one of the risk factors. The presence of plaques depends on many elements: chronic inflammation, lifestyle, family history, high blood pressure, diabetes. The calcium score shows if damage has already started, and the higher the number, the higher the risk of a cardiac event in the next years.
Is this test safe? Invasive? Painful?
No, quite the opposite. It's quick, painless, and doesn't require contrast. The person lies down for a few minutes in a CT scanner, and that's it. It's simpler than a blood test. Unfortunately, few people know about it, and many doctors don't request it, because they still focus only on cholesterol as the main marker.
From what you're saying, this test could save lives, because it detects risk even when the person feels fine.
Certainly. It's a true prevention test. I usually recommend it especially for men from 40 years old and women after menopause, or before that, if there's family history of early heart attack. A 0 score brings peace of mind. A high score requires immediate changes and follow-up.
How are the results interpreted? Is there a cutoff value indicating danger?
Yes. 0 score is ideal. From 1 to 100, low risk. From 100 to 400, intermediate risk. Above 400, high risk of heart attack in the next years. And the most interesting, even people with normal total cholesterol can have high scores because inflammation and oxidative stress don't appear in common exams.
So it would be fair to say this is the truth test about the heart?
Yes, it's like a real photo of the artery situation. It shows if there are scars from the past and risks for the future. And based on this, it's possible to draw much more effective strategies, going far beyond lowering numbers on paper.
Dr. Tanaka, after everything we talk about, one question has been hammering me. Is it possible to clean arteries naturally? Is there really a way to reverse this process, or once clogged, are they stuck like that forever?
This is a common doubt, and the good news is yes, it's possible to reduce inflammation, stabilize, and even partially reverse plaques in arteries with changes in diet and lifestyle. We're not talking miracle, but a gradual process. The body has an incredible capacity for regeneration when it receives the right nutrients and gets rid of aggressors.
And what type of food helps in this process? Is there a natural cleaning that starts on the plate?
Certainly. The most powerful foods to clean arteries are anti-inflammatory, antioxidant-rich, and high in soluble fibers. For example, dark green leafy vegetables, raw garlic, turmeric, ginger, red onion, berries, flaxseed, chia, avocado, and extra virgin olive oil. They help reduce oxidized LDL, increase HDL, and improve vessel health.
Is it true that fibers help sweep bad cholesterol out of the intestine?
Yes, exactly. Soluble fibers, like those found in oats, apples, flaxseed, and legumes, bind to cholesterol in the intestine and prevent its reabsorption. With that, part of this cholesterol is eliminated in the stool. And more. Fibers also feed good bacteria in the gut, which positively impacts cholesterol regulation and inflammation.
So by feeding the gut flora, we're also taking care of the arteries?
Perfect. The connection between gut and heart is deep. An inflamed or dysfunctional gut releases toxins that go to the liver and overload its function. This directly affects cholesterol production. A healthy gut, on the other hand, improves nutrient absorption and reduces systemic inflammation.
Do you believe this dietary change can have an impact comparable to medication?
In many cases, yes. Mainly when done regularly, consciously, and associated with other healthy habits. I've seen patients drastically reduce LDL, increase HDL, and lower calcium scores just with diet, physical activity, and stress control. Of course, each case is unique, but diet is always the most powerful pillar.
And what are the worst foods that should be completely eliminated?
Ideally, cut or reduce as much as possible. Refined sugar, white flour, processed meats, fried foods, refined vegetable oils, and ultra-processed foods. They inflame, oxidize cholesterol, and prevent vascular regeneration. They're like gasoline thrown on a fire.
In the end, the right diet seems to be the most effective medicine, and without side effects.
Exactly. Real food heals, nourishes, protects, and when it's well chosen, the body starts to clean itself inside. The arteries thank you, and health blooms again.
Dr. Tanaka, you have a very practical and natural approach to cholesterol care. And I know you usually recommend specific leaves that have a deep power to reduce inflammation and help the liver. What are those leaves considered true green medicines?
Yes, I really like to work with what I call the nature's pharmacy, and leaves play a central role in this process. Some of them have active compounds that help regulate cholesterol, cleanse the liver, and protect vessels. The 5 I use most in clinical practice are dandelion, Ora nobis, kale, spinach, and basil.
Interesting. Let's go step by step. Starting with dandelion, which many people think is just a weed.
That's right. Dandelion is a powerful medicinal plant. Its leaves stimulate bile production, facilitate fat digestion, and help the liver eliminate excess cholesterol. It also has a mild diuretic effect, which helps reduce swelling and circulatory overload. It can be used in salads or as tea.
And Ora pro nobis, which is becoming better known in Brazil.
It's a nutritional jewel, very rich in protein, fibers, and antioxidants. Ora Pro Nobis helps reduce LDL and increase HDL. Besides that, its fibers feed good gut bacteria, which, as we saw, indirectly contributes to cholesterol regulation. It's versatile, can be sautéed, added to soups, or even green juices.
Good old kale isn't left out, right?
Not at all. Kale is a classic for a reason. It has sulforaphane, which activates detox enzymes in the liver. It also contains chlorophyll, which helps sweep toxins from the blood. Used regularly, it improves the lipid profile, reduces inflammation, and balances cholesterol production.
And spinach? It's famous for strengthening, but does it help arteries too?
Definitely. Spinach is rich in lutein, an antioxidant that protects arteries against plaque buildup. It also contains natural nitrates, which help vasodilation, that is, improves circulation and reduces blood pressure. It's a complete functional food for the cardiovascular system.
And to close, basil. Besides the delicious smell, does it have any role in this process?
It does. Basil contains eugenol, a compound with a strong anti-inflammatory effect. It helps balance the nervous system, reduce stress, and consequently protect the heart. It also has mild liver action and can be used raw, in teas, or in essential oils.
So can we say these 5 leaves, besides being tasty, are true cardiovascular protection agents?
Certainly. Including them in daily life is a simple and effective way to help the body detoxify, balance cholesterol, and preserve artery health. Small habits done regularly bring big transformations.
Dr. Tanaka, this chapter sounds like a contradiction. Eat fat to eliminate fat, but you already explained that not all fat is the enemy. Let's dive deeper. What are the good fats that really help the body fight bad cholesterol?
This is one of the keys to true cardiovascular health. The body needs good fat to function properly, including to balance cholesterol. The main fats that help fight oxidized LDL and raise HDL are omega-3, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, avocado, and nuts like walnuts, cashews, and almonds.
Let's start with omega-3. Why is it so talked about when the subject is heart?
Because it has a deep anti-inflammatory effect. Omega-3 acts directly on cell membranes, improving blood vessel elasticity and reducing chronic inflammation. It also lowers triglycerides, prevents arrhythmias, and helps stabilize already formed plaques. It's present in cold water fish like wild salmon, sardines, mackerel, and anchovies.
And extra virgin olive oil? It almost has medicine status in some cultures.
Rightfully so. Extra virgin olive oil is rich in polyphenol, antioxidants that protect arteries and prevent LDL oxidation. Besides that, it improves insulin sensitivity and has a protective effect on the liver. But it's important to consume it raw, without heating, to preserve its active compounds.
Now, coconut oil still raises doubts. After all, it's saturated fat. Is it an ally or an enemy?
It's an ally when used in moderation. Coconut oil contains medium-chain triglycerides, which are metabolized quickly by the liver and don't accumulate as fat. It has antimicrobial properties and can help with satiety. But ideally, don't exaggerate. 1 tablespoon a day is enough.
And avocado, which for years was considered a villain. Does it play a role in reducing bad cholesterol?
Certainly. Avocado is a very rich source of monounsaturated fats, which help raise HDL and reduce LDL. It also contains fibers and antioxidants that protect arteries. It's a complete food for those seeking cardiovascular health.
So, contrary to what people think, eating the right fat helps clean the body from the wrong fat.
Exactly. Good fat regulates metabolism, protects arteries, and signals the body it can stop producing excess cholesterol. When the body is properly nourished, it works in favor of health, not against it.
Dr. Tanaka, throughout this entire conversation, you brought many dietary strategies. But I know there is a drink very present in Japanese culture that you consider essential to keep arteries clean and the heart young. Can we talk about it now?
Sure. I'm talking about a drink that has been part of Japanese daily life for centuries, and modern science is only now recognizing it as a powerful cardiovascular protector: green tea. More specifically, green tea prepared traditionally, with quality leaves and slow infusion.
Amazing how something so simple can have so much power. What makes green tea so special medically?
The secret is in its active compounds. Green tea is very rich in catechins, especially epigallocatechin gallate, EGCG, which has a powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effect. These compounds help prevent oxidation of LDL cholesterol, stabilize fat plaques, improve circulation, and reduce blood pressure.
Does it have real impact on tests? Can you see the difference in blood or arteries with continuous use?
Yes. Studies show that regular green tea consumption is associated with reduced LDL levels, increased HDL, and even less thickening of the arterial wall. In my clinical practice, I often see this happen. Patients who adopt the habit of drinking green tea daily, associated with other changes, show improvement in inflammatory and lipid markers.
What about caffeine? Many people worry green tea might speed the body up too much.
It's a valid concern. Green tea contains caffeine, but in smaller amounts than coffee. And interestingly, it also has L-theanine, an amino acid that balances caffeine's effects. The result is a calm alertness, more focus, but without jitters. Of course, very sensitive people should start with small doses or choose decaf green tea.
Is there a best time to consume it? Morning, afternoon?
Yes. Ideally, consume green tea in the morning or early afternoon. It helps with thermogenesis, fat burning, and controlling blood sugar after meals. Avoid drinking it at night to not interfere with sleep, and always away from main meals so it doesn't impair iron absorption.
It's impressive how Japanese culture, so ancient, already used this natural resource even before science proved its effectiveness.
Exactly. Many traditional Japanese practices are based on observing the body and nature. Green tea is an example. Simple, accessible, and deeply therapeutic when incorporated consciously into the routine.
Dr. Tanaka, while green tea is a symbol of health in Japanese culture, here in the West the habit is still to drink juice, mainly industrial juices. And I've heard you say you never drink that kind of drink. Why?
Because in practice, most industrial juices are as harmful as soda. Even those that say 100% fruit contain a very high load of fructose, little fiber, and often chemical additives that inflame the body. The liver gets a metabolic shock processing so much sugar at once. And as we said, that directly affects cholesterol.
It's hard to hear that because juice has this image of a healthy, refreshing drink, like mom taking care of her kid, right?
Yes, it's a culturally built image, but unfortunately, it's wrong. When you squeeze several fruits to make a glass of juice, you concentrate the sugar and eliminate the fiber. The body absorbs it like a glucose spike, causing inflammatory and fat-building effects. This stimulates production of triglycerides and LDL cholesterol.
And what about the detox box juices that became trendy? Do they help or hinder?
They hinder. These industrial juices, even the green ones, are usually pasteurized, poor in live nutrients, and rich in natural sugars or artificial sweeteners. The idea seems good, but the metabolic impact can be negative. It's a health illusion.
And you don't even drink natural juice?
Rarely. I prefer whole fruit, always. Fruit with skin and pulp delivers fiber, satiety, and moderation. Natural juice can be used occasionally, in moderation, and always diluted, but never as a daily habit. The exception would be lemon juice without sugar or with mint, which has a very low glycemic index.
So juice, which seemed like a hero, can be a disguised enemy when it comes to cholesterol and liver health.
Exactly. Most juices, even homemade, overload the liver and stimulate inflammation. And as we've seen, the deregulated liver is the main producer of bad cholesterol. Replacing juice with lemon water, tea, or whole fruits is already a big change.
It's one of those truths we need to relearn, right? Letting go of old habits and seeing what really nourishes.
Certainly. Changing what we drink is as important as changing what we eat. Every glass can inflame or regenerate, and this choice, made every day, transforms your health destiny.
Dr. Tanaka, so far we talked about natural strategies, diet, habits, but there's a reality many live, taking medications to control cholesterol, especially statins. Are they really necessary? And what are the risks of depending on these drugs?
This is a delicate issue, but it needs to be discussed clearly. Statins are effective medications to lower total cholesterol and LDL. They act by inhibiting an enzyme in the liver that regulates cholesterol production. In high-risk cases, family history, or patients who already had a heart attack, they can save lives. But the problem is indiscriminate use, often prescribed before trying to change lifestyle.
So the person starts taking statins and continues eating badly, sleeping badly, sedentary, and thinks they're protected?
Exactly. The drug can lower numbers on the test, but it doesn't treat the cause. And worse, it can mask the body's real imbalances. The person looks at the test and thinks everything's fine, when in fact the liver may be overloaded, arteries inflamed, and lifestyle silently causing illness.
And what are the most common side effects of these medications?
The most reported are muscle pain, weakness, fatigue, memory loss, insomnia, and in some cases, increased risk of type 2 diabetes. That's because statins also affect coenzyme Q10 production, an essential substance for cellular energy. Without it, muscles and brain suffer.
And even so, they continue being the first choice for many doctors.
Yes, for several reasons. They are well studied, have quick results, and are in conventional protocols. But what I defend is that they should be used with criteria, together with real lifestyle changes. In many cases, an anti-inflammatory diet, exercise, and stress control get equal or even better results, without side effects.
So the medication isn't the villain, but shouldn't be treated as a magic solution?
Perfect. The medication is a crutch, and you don't live well your whole life on crutches. The ideal is to use it, if necessary, for a determined time, while the patient changes the factors that cause the problem. When this happens, many can reduce the dose or even suspend use, with medical guidance.
Have you seen that happen in practice?
Several times. Patients with cholesterol above 280 who changed their routine radically and, in 6 to 12 months, lowered it to healthy levels, with renewed energy and perfect tests. This shows the body responds. But it needs our cooperation.
Dr. Haruki, the moment many people were waiting for has arrived. The drink you consume daily, which you learned from the elders of Japan, and that has a direct effect on arteries and bad cholesterol. Shall we reveal this secret?
Certainly. The drink is simple, ancestral, and extremely powerful. Kombu tea with green tea. Kombu is a seaweed rich in minerals, especially iodine, potassium, magnesium, and compounds called fucoidins, which have antioxidant, anticoagulant, and anti-inflammatory effects.
So it's the union of two worlds, green tea, which we already know, with kombu seaweed, which has marine compounds few consume in the West.
Exactly. Kombu helps modulate thyroid function and improves cholesterol metabolism. Its polysaccharides help sweep toxins from the blood, besides reducing LDL adhesion to artery walls. When combined with green tea, the effect is boosted.
It's like the drink acts on many fronts at once, reducing inflammation, cleaning the blood, and balancing metabolism.
That's right. And the secret isn't only in the ingredients, but in the habit. Elderly people who consume this infusion daily, in small doses, show less incidence of atherosclerosis, better cognition, and more energy. This was observed in several long-lived communities in Japan.
And the most curious thing is that there's nothing expensive or industrialized about it. It's homemade tea, made with water, plant, and seaweed.
Exactly. No additives, no sugar, no packaging. It's pure functional food. Kombu can be bought dehydrated, rehydrated for a few minutes, then infused with green tea, without boiling, just heated.
What effect do you notice in your patients when they adopt this habit?
They report improved digestion, more mental clarity, and over time, reduction in LDL and triglycerides. Combined with a good diet, this drink acts as a silent artery cleaner.
So here's the invite. 1 cup a day, a simple gesture, a deep effect. Future medicine might be more marine than we imagine.
And, above all, more natural and accessible than any pharmacy.
Dr. Haruki, now that you revealed the drink, kombu tea with green tea, many must be wondering how to prepare and use it in practice. We know the secret is habit, but I want to understand all the details.
Sure. The preparation is simple, but requires care with temperature and ingredient proportions. First, take a small piece of dried kombu, about 5 to 7 centimeters, and put it in 500 milliliters of water. Let it rest for at least 30 minutes to rehydrate.
And then after that, do you heat the water?
Yes, heat the water with the kombu until small bubbles start forming, but don't let it boil. This is essential because if it boils, the seaweed loses many of its nutrients. Turn off the heat, add a teaspoon of green tea or a tea bag. Let it infuse for 3 to 5 minutes, strain, and it's ready.
And how much should be consumed per day? And at what time?
The recommendation is 1 cup in the morning and, if you want, another in the late afternoon. Avoid drinking it at night if you're sensitive to caffeine, and never on a completely empty stomach. The ideal is to take it after a light breakfast. If you want to boost it, add a drop of fresh lemon at the end.
And how long does it take to start noticing effects?
Subjective effects like more energy, lighter digestion, and mental clarity come in a few weeks. Biochemical effects like LDL reduction and improved lipid profile can be seen in 6 to 12 weeks, as long as combined with an anti-inflammatory diet.
So it's not a magic drink, but a natural medicine for daily use. The more consistent, the deeper the effect.
Perfect. And most importantly, it has no serious contraindications, it's accessible, and can become a self-care ritual. For many, it's more than a tea. It's a symbol of life change.
So here's the final step. Prepare, drink with intention, make a habit, and watch your body respond. Because in the end, it's the simple things done every day that clean, heal, and protect.
Exactly. And the heart thanks, silently.
And if you want to keep receiving the best videos for your health, subscribe to the channel, because it exists for only one reason: to make you a healthier person with better quality of life. Helping you is my mission. In the video that's appearing now on your screen, I reveal the #1 leaf that cancer fears most. Click on the screen and check it out.